In this episode, the Mythbusters are going far beyond their comfort zones.
Did I tell you I was afraid of heights?
Could you survive falling 200 feet into water by throwing a hammer in first? And multiple myths for soft drinks. Does cola have miraculous power?
This side sucks.
You might bust a myth from the other side if you could survive the burial.
It's, I can feel it coming in.
Roger that. We're going to get you out.
Who are the Mythbusters?
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Adam Savage.
I always enjoyed seeing Adam in pain.
Oh! And Jamie Heineman.
He wants pain.
More than 30 years special effects experience.
Feel kind of sexy.
They don't just tell the myths. They put them to the test.
Are you ready?
It's been nice knowing you.
See you later.
Okay. She thinks I look great in Naughty Pine. What do you think?
How long could a human survive in the confines of a coffin 6 feet under?
Farewell, cruel world.
Adam's plan is to bury Jamie alive.
How you doing, dead boy? Are you okay in there?
This experiment is risky. Asphyxiation a real possibility.
I don't know if I'm gonna like this too much.
Well, we're going to bring our science to a really old one this time, Jamie. And the idea is that someone could be mistakenly declared dead, put in a coffin, and then put into a grave and buried while still alive.
Well, it seems like that'd be possible, but I don't think they'd last very long.
There are multiple legends about being buried alive because apparently there have been stories about this since the ancient times.
Heather Joseph Witham, resident folklorist. Social myths are her specialty.
One version of the narrative is that your friend's great-great-grandma was very ill, and in fact she was lying in a coma for several days, at which point she died. Now when the doctor pronounced her dead, her husband came and was looking at the body and said, "She's not dead, she's not dead. We've been married for over 50 years. I can feel her innermost thoughts. I know everything about her. She's not dead." Now, every night, this man is having a recurring nightmare. He wakes up, he sees his wife crying at the coffin, screaming, "I'm alive, help me, help me." He has this dream every night. So finally, after a week of these hysterical calls, the doctor, together with the local authorities, dig the woman up. And when they open the coffin, what they find is all her nails are bent back, and there are very clear scratches all along the inside of the coffin lid.
First of all, I don't think anyone has ever been put into a closed casket unintentionally and alive. I think that is fiction from overheated Gothic writers.
At Mission Dolores, San Francisco's oldest church, Brother Guire Cleary takes a very skeptical view.
Well, I've heard stories that some people would insist on perhaps having bells, ropes going to bells from the coffin, so if they woke up underground they could ring it, or perhaps they would have their veins drained of blood to make sure they were genuinely dead.
So if they weren't dead of natural causes, they'd
They were dead from their undertaker.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder also, was this a myth that was encouraged by people who produced and were selling such products? You know, the great American skill is not satisfying needs, it's creating needs.
Burying Jamie alive is a dangerous experiment. It requires an above-ground chamber and a casket strong enough to withstand the load of dirt. Meters will monitor his pulse and blood oxygen levels, and the amount of potentially deadly CO2 building up inside the casket. And for safety, a night vision camera and emergency oxygen.
The CO2 level is going to build up really quickly in the volume the size of the casket.
How long do you think the average person might last?
I'm guessing around maybe 3 hours tops.
How long do you think you're going to last?
Well, 3 hours is like on the verge of death, and I don't think I'm willing to go quite that far. So, maybe an hour and a half, I don't know, maybe 2. It sort of depends on how I can control my breathing, I believe. Kind of like that,
You like the cash drawer?
Yeah, keep my wallet and valuables in there.
The first item required is Jamie's coffin. His concerns are size, strength, and comfort.
This is a 18-gauge steel casket and velvet interior.
Kelly Gillespie works closely with the bereaved at the Arthur Sullivan Funeral Home.
And this is the pillow, so you feel how soft that is.
Oh, that feels nice.
All right.
Is it going to be comfy for you?
Yeah.
And this is the spring bed mattress underneath, which does rise up and down. And then these notches up here go right into the hole, and then you can lock it.
So if you were inside here and once it's closed, you're not getting out by yourself, right?
I don't see any way of getting out from the inside.
Bummer.
You're going to have to trust us.
Not very comfy. This actually feels kind of lumpy.
It's a press board that's covered in fabric.
Kind of concerned about getting crushed.
I don't know about a couple tons of dirt on there.
It seems sturdy enough. It's 20-gauge steel. Maybe to make sure that I do come back intact, we should buy the Astral Phoenix.
Well, then what do you think about this one, Jamie?
I think I'd be okay with 20-gauge. I would feel a little bit more comfortable with, loading all that dirt on it.
Your comfort, Jamie, is our first priority.
I need to be able to rest in peace.
Exactly.
The choice is made. A preference for steel over wood.
There's something vaguely disturbing about this, and I'm not sure what it is.
Do you want to ride back in the back and I'll drive?
Sure.
This is the carbon dioxide and oxygen meter. This is the pulse oximeter. This is the night shot camera. And this is our emergency supply of oxygen. Basically, we have to get all of this in here, with Jamie included, so that all the systems are up and running. We can monitor him. We can know if he's okay. We can give him oxygen if he needs it. Make sure he's going to be safe.
The casket will be buried inside a chamber. It's constructed to come apart easily for quick access to Jamie in an emergency. Safety is the first priority, so the casket is prepared for a trial run at the workshop with Jamie inside. The casket is sealed. 2 emergency medics will be on hand at all times. Jamie's survival may depend on their skills.
Pulse is 81 and his blood oxygen level is 98.
Hey, Jamie, you want to run through how you're feeling in there?
Any change in the state of your head, i.e.
Lightheaded, dizziness, seeing lights or anything?
No, I don't think so. Everything seems
fine? I'm just kind of...
thinking about sex a lot.
Okay, that's only interesting if it's change in state.
The medical profession is doubtful anyone could survive a burial. Dr. William Miller, medical director at St. Luke's Hospital, believes no one would live to tell the tale.
Well, I think that when I was a Boy Scout, we used to sit around telling each other stories around the campfire about, bodies that had been dug up and scratch marks on the inside of a coffin. But when I became older and a physician, I have never given any of those stories any credence.
Do you think it would have been any more likely in the past? I mean, given that the technology was a lot different then.
I think certainly that in the 1800s, for example, at that time we did not have an agreed upon set of criteria. And so you might have a physician whose idea of death was, for example, very flimsy and not very solid, and they themselves might pronounce somebody dead who, by today's criteria, we would not say was dead.
Most of the macabre stories belong to the dark days of medicine, when pronouncing someone dead was a hit or miss kind of science.
So you have the story in the 17th century, Marjorie Elphinstone of Scotland gets actually buried. A few hours later, at nighttime, robbers come, they dig her up, and they are going to take the jewelry off her when she groans. And they all go running off into the night in terror, and she sits up, walks home, and outlives her husband.
Modern medicine avoids uncertainties of the old days by using 5 different factors to pronounce someone officially dead.
Well, the first thing that we would do is to induce some significant stimuli to see if there's any neurological response. And the way many of us do that is we take something scientific like a car key and we push very hard on the thumb to induce pain. Then we check for a pupillary response, usually using a pen light, and see if the pupils react. Then we would take our stethoscope and we would listen for a heartbeat, and usually while listening we also check for a pulse. And we use the carotid artery, and then finally we would listen over both sides of the chest for any respirations. So if a patient is not breathing and there's no pulse and there's evidence that the brain is not functioning, then that's the determination of death.
Are you okay for another 7 minutes there, Heinemann?
Feel perfectly fine. It's hot. That's the only thing that I don't like.
Back at the workshop, Jamie's test run in the sealed casket has lasted nearly 50 minutes. His blood level of carbon dioxide peaked at 3%. 4% is getting dangerous. 10% is lethal.
Waking up in a coffin, surprise, I think it would be a pretty scary experience. This stuff is like what gets you. It's all, being in a box is one thing, but you got all the stuff that's supposed to make it real nice and pleasant, and it's actually really kind of creepy, I think.
Many of these stories are relatively recent. You have a man in South Africa in 1993 who is pronounced dead after a car accident. He spends 2 days in some kind of metal casket above ground, at which point he wakes up, and unfortunately he's not very happy apparently because his fiancée won't take him back, believing that he's a zombie come back to get her.
So the next step is to load this up on our forklift, lower it down into our makeshift above-ground grave, fill it with earth, and monitor Jamie until he begs for mercy.
The Mythbusters are about to defy nature in an attempt to bury Jamie alive.
How you doing? Hey, what the hell are we supposed to do with all this dirt?
So buried alive, huh?
Buried alive. You ever heard about anyone being buried alive?
Well, I've heard of them. I've seen movies, but I've never really actually seen it happen.
Yeah. Stop.
I'm a little apprehensive at the moment. I'm hoping that the box won't collapse, but I think it'll be all right.
His dry run lasted 50 minutes, but now, under real conditions, Jamie will be feeling stress, producing more CO2, reducing his survival time.
Are you comfy?
Ah, yes.
Good deal?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got your walkie, you got your mic on, that's your emergency oxygen, you have your pulse oxygen meter here, camera, thermometer, humidity sensor. Are you ready, Jamie?
Farewell, cruel world.
Bye-bye, Heine man.
With Jamie laid out in his casket, Adam gently lowers him into the chamber.
Watch yourself, it's gonna go down.
He's about to undergo a rare ordeal. He will be buried alive. match a burial as closely as possible, Jamie's temporary grave will be covered with several tons of earth.
I got a fair amount of dirt in here, and it actually crushed the container a little bit.
Roger that. Are you nervous about it? Over.
No, I think I'm fine. It definitely had an effect on the casket, though.
Loading earth on the steel casket is a calculated risk. It's up to Jamie to make the call.
Well, all I got to say is be gentle on those dumps, because I'm worried about the lid slipping off of its sides or something like that.
Jamie, would you like me to come in and check the lid out? Over.
You're not going to be able to tell anything more than I can at this point. I say just keep going. I wish I had a light in here.
He's a trooper, man, I tell you. Oxygen levels?
He's at 98%.
The medics are watching his vital signs closely. Any indication of acute stress, and he will be exhumed.
I imagine my heart's beating a little faster than it was on the test, over.
You'd be correct about that. It's at 95 right now, buddy. You are almost officially completely covered now, Jamie.
The casket is getting so warped from the pressure that it's popped up the corners a little bit.
Suddenly, the major worry is the very real possibility of Jamie being crushed inside the metal box.
This thing's really starting to creak, and it's feeling like it's changing its shape.
They decide to halt the Bobcat. They hope the casket can withstand the force pressing from above.
He's buckling and changing shape on him. Truly. That's the last one we're doing.
Because it's, I can feel it coming in.
You want out?
Yeah.
Roger that. We're going to get you out.
Pull that back.
Oh, wow.
It will?
Yeah, it buckled. Here we go.
Just the head. Hey, Jamie.
Hey.
There he is.
Oh. And he's still alive.
Did it do anything, or is that all my imagination?
Oh, it definitely was crushing it in.
It's just sitting there going.
Yeah!
Jamie persisted inside the casket for 30 humid minutes, breathing only the available air.
I started to panic a little bit there at the end. I mean, it's pretty scary. I mean, I don't have any particular fear of enclosed spaces at all, and you know, feeling those walls starting to cave in, it really gets you going, as I'm sure my pulse rate will testify.
This is where your pulse started. And with the point you asked us to get you out, you were off my chart. Your pulse was about 115.
Okay.
Which shows, I mean, because of your pulse, you were using up a lot more oxygen.
So what are the chances of surviving 6 feet under?
I think the myth is sufficiently busted. I don't think it's possible for someone to survive a couple of hours in the panic state of being buried with their coffin crushing and all of that stuff, let alone a couple of days until they're exhumed and found to be alive. That's just patently ridiculous to me.
Well, there you go. Busted.
America's favorite drink has always attracted its own share of popular myths. Some of them true, most of them baloney, but all of them challenges for the Mythbusters.
Jamie, how many things can we do with cola?
Lots. We can clean up blood.
You can dissolve a T-bone steak.
You can clean chrome.
Clean corroded contacts on your battery.
You can free a rusted bolt.
You can clean your greasy laundry.
Car paint work.
Dissolve a tooth.
You can clean your car engine.
And it also might be an effective spermicide.
This should be fun.
Some of these sound actually like they're pretty reasonable to me. And some of them just sound absolutely ridiculous.
So it would seem.
Well, let's go get some blood and steaks and chrome and rusty bolts and get started.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will cola shift those hard-to-remove bloodstains from the Mythbusters crime scene?
Lie still, I'm not going to hurt you.
I don't trust you.
Well?
You realize that this white line thing is all a myth. They don't actually do that.
No, you're kidding me.
Yeah, it would contaminate the site.
When did the myth start? Was it ever used?
You know, I don't know. I think it just looks good.
It definitely looks good. Oh, yeah! You know, every Thanksgiving it's the cranberry sauce that makes it special.
Animal blood was used to keep the test as authentic as possible.
Okay, so how long do we have to wait? Is it like the amount of time that it would normally take for an ambulance to get here?
For the realism and effectiveness we always strive for. There we go.
After 2 hours in the California sun, only Jamie's crime scene outline gets the cola treatment.
It's kind of rejuvenating the blood, isn't it?
Isn't that what they advertise it to do?
That was a lot of blood. Check the truck out. Oh my God. They really dissolved it on that.
Yeah, took it right off the truck. Most of the blood is washed away. What do you think? What's the final verdict on this?
The cola helped.
Not by a whole lot, but it did help. This area is cleaner than that one, and this is the one with the cola on it.
Yeah, I still see a blood streak on mine after all the washing we did, and it took it right off the bumper.
Well, it works.
All right, cool.
No one was willing to volunteer their car for the cola cleaning and rust test, so Jamie rolled in a junker to see if it could take all that cola could throw at it.
That was good. I didn't know it had brakes until you stopped.
I didn't either.
Sure.
Will cola and aluminum foil shine the chrome on your car? We'll compare the cola against the leading brand of chrome cleaner.
I'm not sure exactly what the aluminum foil does with this.
Oh, I think it ionizes the cola particles and brings the rust to the surface.
I think the cola's doing a great job. The rust is all gone. It kind of has like a foaming, scrubbing bubble kind of thing going on there. Leaving a sticky mess, but that'll wash off. Man, you missed some spots.
Yeah, I know. There we go.
Your side sucks.
My side sucks. I gotta say, if you ask me, cola is a fantastic bumper cleaner.
I agree.
High marks for shining the chrome. But what about freeing a rusty bolt?
The myth is that it's a cola-soaked rag.
But could cola's low phosphoric acid content be effective against rust?
All right, why don't we give it 5 minutes?
Okay, let's go drink some cola. I don't see any real way that that's going to do anything.
Oh. You want to give it a shot? It ain't moving.
I got it, Adam.
You got it?
Yeah.
Was it hard?
Yeah. I don't think it really penetrated that well.
Well, I think this one was a total failure in that regard.
Well, I'd agree. Maybe it removed a little surface rust on it. That's about it.
So, what's next?
Everyone's heard about cola's so-called corrosive qualities. Time to test the myths with 2 pennies and some teeth. And one more. Can cola dissolve a T-bone steak? In this test, the cola will be compared to pure phosphoric acid, an active ingredient in cola that gives the drink its sharp taste. Most food contains naturally occurring acid, much of it stronger than phosphoric. So how will the cola react with the chosen test items?
That looks yummy.
Now that's a marinade. I'll have to try it. And you know what? It might actually be really, really tasty.
Ah.
Jamie, I think we've got something really important here. I notice that the steak tends to float in the acid, but not the cola.
That's amazing. I would have guessed the other way around.
Penny, cola. Penny, phosphoric acid. Tooth, phosphoric acid. Tooth, cola.
The teeth and the pennies will soak for 24 hours. The steak will stay for 48. We'll be back later for the cola results.
Did I tell you I was afraid of heights?
Busting the hammer jump myth involves G-forces, terminal velocity, surface tension, and a helpful crash test dummy named Buster.
Oh, no. Poor guy.
Well, there's this myth that if you fall off a high structure like a bridge or a crane or something over water and you throw a hammer in front of you, that it'll save your life because it'll break the surface tension of the water.
No way.
This story's been told about the Sydney Harbor Bridge and also about the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, California. The story's told among people who work on bridges, construction workers, people who might fall off of a bridge and like to have the idea, at least subconsciously, that there's something they can do about it, that there's some way to save themselves.
I guess this is based on the idea that if you fall from a really large height, hitting water is pretty much like hitting concrete. I mean, it doesn't move out of the way like we expect it to. It actually resists impact at that speed.
Yeah, and so by throwing a weight in front of you, you're going to break the surface tension or possibly simply aerate the water to where it slows your deceleration down. You don't stop so quickly because that stop is what kills you.
Right. The stop is where you incur all that G-force that like makes your organs go crazy.
Yeah.
Surface tension is what keeps water-striding insects afloat. It allows them to make indentations without getting wet. The apparently invisible skin is formed by water molecules creating even greater tension at the surface. And that's why belly flops hurt.
In consideration of the myth, I would think it'd be very reassuring to believe that if you're working high steel, you misstep, it would be nice if your tool belt went first, broke the fall, and you survived.
According to author Stephen Cassidy, the hammer myth may have originated during construction of the Golden Gate Bridge. In 1937, 12 men fell when a bridge section crashed into their safety net. Only one man survived. Did his hammer break the fall?
The tool belts that those guys used had, among other things, spanners and hammers, so they might have 100 pounds of tools around a tool belt. Certainly enough heavy metal at their disposal in the form of tools to equate to a hammer or many hammers.
At 220 feet above water, the Golden Gate Bridge would be ideal to test the myth of a hammer breaking an accidental fall. These days, for security reasons, the massive structure is off limits. So, to bust the hammer jump myth, Jamie and Adam need a way to get some serious height.
That's what the crane's for.
So we'll take the dummy to the top of this crane and drop him into the water a bunch of times?
That's it. Dummy's going to get to go swimming.
Oh, I love this job.
The Mythbusters are at Mare Island, the former naval shipyard just north of San Francisco, where the Pacific Fleet used to put in for maintenance. Mare is the home of the Whirly, a huge crane that can turn through 360 degrees. At full extension, it reaches up around 150 feet, the height Jamie and Adam need to drop the hapless dummy, Buster.
Well, we'll always have a rigger with you.
And the rigger will signal the operator. I mean, the operator can't hear you.
Cooper manages the massive crane and is supervising safety aspects of the experiment. He's a little dubious about the story.
I hadn't heard it. I thought it was kind of different. But two of the guys in my office were very familiar with it. One of our fellows has got an advanced degree from Stanford in construction management, and he definitely had heard it. So it seems like it's something within the industry is common knowledge.
When the experiment is underway, Jamie will have the job of rigging Buster the dummy and the hammer, all while working hundreds of feet above water.
My gosh. Wow.
Snug as a bug in a rug up here. This thing ain't exactly flimsy, you know?
The deal here is incredible. You know, the simple fact is that when he hits the water, the margin between life and death is going to be very small.
Yeah, it's only a tiny fraction of this second, and I suppose this hammer thing actually could make that difference.
The critical science requires calculating the force at impact. Adam will fit Buster with an accelerometer, the same type used by courier companies, to see if your packages are being treated gently. It measures the energy generated by sudden stops.
We've got to put this in his head or in his torso, wherever it will fit. This is an accelerometer. This will measure the G-force when he hits the water. Oh, look at that. That's really pretty. All right, let's see. Do you want to get hit in the head? You're going to anyway.
Buster's cavities are designed to hold smaller instruments for auto industry research. He's a crash test dummy after all. Adam's task is to make room inside the dummy to accommodate a larger accelerometer.
I like this. I'm quite pleased with this. You get your chest back on. I'm sure there's a crash test dummy expert out there who's watching me do this and going, no, that's not how you do it, you idiot. Ah. Ha. Yeah. You think you're better than me? Hey, this guy's almost ready to throw off the roof. Come on there, buddy. That's it. I get to drop him the next time, you know.
Before dropping the dummy from towering heights, they need to test the accelerometer from a little lower down.
All right, go ahead.
3, 2, 1.
That's really horrifying to watch. 3, 2, 1. That was perfect. Dude, we cracked his entire head in. No, we can't go again.
I guess we weakened it a little bit by...
Yeah, I mean, just some big old welds along here should be fine, but, you know, our accelerometer, we should take it out and just read the events.
Despite the mishap, Adam found the accelerometer was still functioning effectively.
So, download.
In addition to the head repair, Jamie needs to modify Buster before the big fall.
The other thing that we've got to do to him is that we have to rig some sort of a slide that will allow him to travel along a cable so we can guide him precisely where we need to.
To predict exactly where and when Buster and the hammer will hit the water, Jamie is rigging a quick-release cable and guide wires for the descent.
All right. So let's say it's from 6 feet. All right.
Buster's in for more pavement punishment while the quick release mechanism is tested.
Ready? 2, 1. Oh, man. In 3, 2, 1. His quick releases work great, Jamie.
Yeah.
Let's go for another one.
Upsy daisy.
But the dummy is not designed for this type of rough handling.
Something's wrong.
Uh-oh.
Not again.
Oh, well.
All right, well, let's lift him by his head and get him back on the operating table.
Okay.
And get to work on him again. I can get the data out and we can see what the drops were like.
Okay.
This is our last intern.
Back at the Mare Island Docks, all is ready for Buster's big day out. Will his dramatic drop prove that a hammer could break a fall and save a life?
I just tested all the systems of the accelerometer, and they're all a go. So it's now recording events. It's probably recorded more than a few jostles on the way out here. But we should be able to see which ones are the events we really care about, because there'll be lots of G's.
With the dummy's accelerometer on board, it's time to drop. The massive crane is rolled into position.
It's a strange combination of, like, sheer terror and delight. I'm not sure. Looking at the ground a couple hundred feet away, and I don't know, it's really cool. I think my fascination is overriding my terror.
He looks good. Take him all the way up.
The crane is raised to 180 feet. A guide wire will keep the dummy on target. A high-speed camera will record the moment of impact.
Okay, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, no. Poor guy.
I think it was a back flop. I was looking for a belly flop, but this was a back flop. You probably experienced the full G-force that's possible from this height.
Oh, no, no, no.
Somebody didn't remember to clip him into the cable. You know, there's a lot going on, though, and we just forgot, or somebody forgot.
We didn't forget to hook the legs on. In fact, Jamie forgot to hook the leg on. I said, by the way, I put a pin in the knee, but because the threading is stripped out, there's nothing there. You're going to need to take a long bolt and put it all the way through that to make sure the leg is connected. Never got taken care of. Not my fault.
There's only one answer. Someone's gonna get wet.
Adam will use any excuse to run around in his undies, I think. Oh, God. Probably like 5 feet down in the mud.
I had absolutely no success finding the leg. I'm really disappointed about that. I really wanted to come up holding the leg. That would have been beautiful. We would have been able to keep on going. I did a good effort, but it's gone.
Despite the setback, they hope Buster's remaining limbs will survive more drops.
We are all good to go. Release at your leisure.
3, 2, 1, go.
No.
Whoa! He's completely trashed. The cast aluminum of his thigh bone right here absolutely just shattered in contact with the water. It's pretty obvious that from that height, you're completely screwed.
Jamie, atop the crane, is coping with a personal fear. Right now, he would prefer being on terra firma.
It's kind of an intense rig up there. I mean, reaching out and hooking up the dummy to the quick release. You know, seems pretty simple. You're just a couple feet away, but when you're at a 40-degree pitch, 160 feet in the air, it's less than pleasurable.
When I'm up there on that height, I'm over and over seeing myself like, ah! That's all there is to it. And so, you know, I can do it. I don't have to like it, though.
Buster has been falling an average of 60 miles an hour. Because of the missing legs, to get consistent data, they decide to start again.
Another test. We'll do a control without legs and without a hammer, and then we'll do another one with the hammer. All cameras are rolling. It's a go.
3, 2, 1, go.
That's so radically hardcore.
So hardcore, the accelerometer registered a force of 287 Gs. A devastating impact, considering an average car crash rates around 70 Gs. Time to attach the hammer. Will it break the surface tension and help prove the myth?
We're ready on your count.
3, 2, 1, go.
Even with the hammer falling first, the dummy still registered a shattering impact of 239 Gs.
Take a look and see the little yellow pieces of foam over there. The force is so great, it's yanking foam out of his butt and like rendering it all over the place. We're seeing little scraps every time he falls.
3, 2, 1.
You know, if I was to crash this dummy, I think that would have hurt more than any of the other falls.
Go.
I'm enjoying this more every time. You know, I think Jamie's getting a little sick up there. Oh! Oh! I'd say that's a good day's work.
I want to get the hell off this crane.
All right. I don't think that losing the leg affected our results. We got a good control of 3 drops without the hammer and 3 drops with the hammer. That's a reasonable data set to make an assessment as to whether or not the hammer helped or didn't do anything.
My gut feeling about this is that the hammer is probably having somewhat of an effect on the impact that the dummy receives. I don't think it's all that much. I don't think it would save your life, personally.
That's our first one with a hammer. Did a face plant at a slight angle, butt first.
Back at the workshop, Adam and Jamie are comparing the different impact curves downloaded from the accelerometer.
Yeah, there's effectively no difference in the length of that curve, just between 200 and 300 Gs. Even if the hammer helped a little bit, when he hits the water, he's going 60 miles per hour plus, which is like twice the speed that they test auto crashes.
You know, the thought that jumping off something and hitting water is going to like literally rip your limbs off your body is surprising. I never would have thought that.
It blew my mind, actually.
Yeah. And the bottom line, our data doesn't show any effect of the hammer at all.
No, it doesn't. I would say that this myth is busted. I'd agree.
There are plenty of legends associated with cola. Some of them sound feasible. For instance, can it clean battery terminals?
That is a pretty corroded battery.
That is a very corroded battery. So let's try out the cola on it.
Well, let's try cola on this one and baking soda and toothbrush on that one.
Cheers.
So, should we line them up and take a look-see?
Sure.
Personally, I don't really see any major difference between them.
Yeah, but the cola actually does work.
Let me see something here. I'm going to actually just try straight water on this one. See, given what the water does, it might just be that the cola is simply a liquid.
Yeah.
Not that it has any special properties, because the water without anything just cleaned up that terminal pretty fine.
That's true.
Is cola the great grease stain remover?
So I kind of figured before we clean the engine, I should sort of like get it.
If there's an easier way to dirty a pair of coveralls, this is not it.
Wow. I was going to say it's kind of exciting. Oh, there we go. It's only going to hurt a little bit. There you go.
So, one sample in cola and the other in a leading brand of detergent. Both left to soak for 4 days.
So, well, we've rinsed these, and I don't know, for my money, the unagitated laundry detergent didn't really do squat.
Cola turned the material brown, but it didn't do anything at all to the grease.
So,
Strike another one off the list.
okay.
A real cola cleaning challenge. An old greasy engine.
So we have the cola on the left side, right?
Yeah.
There you go. I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't do this to my car. What, should we let it sit like 10 minutes or so and then come back?
Yeah. So it's blast time. What do you reckon, myth or not?
It cleaned off a lot of the dirt, but the grease was all still there, same as the cola as the water.
Yeah, I think it removes a little bit of corrosion here and there on the aluminum or certain metals, but not a whole lot.
So I'd say that as an engine degreaser, it's busted. No way.
Will spilled cola damage car paint if it's not cleaned off in 24 hours? Once again, the cola is competing against the concentrated power of phosphoric acid.
Wow, look at what it's doing to this Sharpie.
Yeah.
24 hours later, what's the verdict?
Not much going on there. Try the phosphoric. The phosphoric acid's bright and white. It's actually like, I might use it on my car.
I think it actually changed the color of the truck, though.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely ate through the paint, the phosphoric acid, but as an ingredient in cola, it's definitely not effective in ruining anybody's paint job.
No.
Another one busted.
Yes, indeed.
All right, let's get that penny out of there.
Back at the lab for the cola soak test. What happened to the teeth, pennies, and the T-bone steak?
Well, I see something interesting here, Jamie. I know for a fact when I looked at it that this penny, which was in the cola, this is the side that was down, and there was an air bubble right here. So we can see where there was air, it didn't clean, but where there was cola, it did.
Wow, that's neat.
Clearly see the difference that it actually did brighten up this penny.
The cola did a better job than the phosphoric acid did.
Yeah, I'd say it did a much better job, actually. I mean, it doesn't look like the phosphoric did very much at all.
That surprises me.
Well, you know, to me, it looks like the myth's true. The cola cleaned this penny really well.
Now the teeth. Will they still be there after an overnight soaking?
I still hear it rattling around in there.
Well, it made it a yucky brown.
Ugh. That's just disgusting. That's one sat in the phosphoric acid and did effectively nothing to it.
Actually, Adam, there's a lot less of that other tooth than there was to begin with.
Really?
Yeah, it ate maybe half of it away.
Wow, no, I didn't have any idea about that.
Looks nice and white in comparison, but it's mostly gone. I don't think I'd want to put either of them in my mouth based on that.
Yeah. In a 24-hour period, I'd say cola could never dissolve a tooth.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's busted.
Yep.
Okay.
What's next?
This is the myth that cola will dissolve a steak in 48 hours.
Well, it's done something in 48 hours.
Oh, man. I mean, we've given it a little bit longer than that. And you've put the steak in just phosphoric acid.
Ooh, did you see that?
Yeah, just kind of fell apart.
It's totally breaking it down.
Ooh.
It's funny, it didn't look like it did anything to it, but it did.
Ugh. This is the cola steak with our fine glaze of mold. Well, there's nothing remotely dissolved about it. I'm trying to speak through my mouth so I don't have to smell this.
It doesn't smell bad at all. It smells kind of good. It might have tenderized it a little bit, but it you know, because I don't know that I could do that with that if it was fresh.
Yeah.
And I don't smell anything bad at all. It smells okay. It smells like food.
Nah, I wouldn't eat it.
I wouldn't either, but...
Ah, so, after all your talk, you wouldn't eat it.
It's true.
So,
the myth busted.
Myth busted. Cola did nothing to a steak.
Yeah.
Next myth. Could cola be an effective spermicide? They will combine one small sample of sperm with cola and another sample with a control substance. Under the microscope, they will estimate the score between alive and dead.
Let's try the cola.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Wow. I mean, this is really exciting. This is like those films in high school.
Maybe they like the caffeine. What do
Whoa!
you think? That's amazing.
What are we going to use for our control?
Well, I have some saline solution here. I think that ought to be kind of easy on the sperm.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, 2 drops of saline. There it is.
Certainly look very lively to me.
Yeah, they look great. And 3, 2, 1, count.
For 60 seconds, Jamie will count live sperm in the saline.
And stop, we're done. How many live ones did you see?
53.
53 live ones in a minute. Okay. And go.
And now a 60-second cola count.
And stop.
85.
No way.
Yep.
85.
This is an occasion when Jamie and Adam bow to superior knowledge. Dr. Paul Turek is a male reproductive specialist at UCSF. He's heard hundreds of similar claims.
I think it's a great myth. To summarize, I think the experiment kind of shows what I thought would happen, which is cola will serve as a diluent. It will dilute the sperm, but it won't be necessarily toxic to it. And a spermicide is different. A spermicide actually stays in there, so it doesn't really dilute anything. It just kills the sperm on contact.
3, 2, 1, and done.
96.
96.
Clearly, cola is not an effective spermicide. It's just not.
Well, so I'd say this myth is busted too.
Absolutely.
Cola's going down. So, Jamie, we've been testing cola for a week. What did we end up with? Not a hell of a lot.
Well, the only thing that it really did well was it did a great job of cleaning crumb.
I agree. That's the best thing it did of anything.
Yeah, otherwise it kind of sort of cleans up blood. It cleaned up a penny kind of okay, but nothing really spectacular. The cleaning crumb was great.
And that's it. I mean, none of these others were really effective in any way.
Yeah.